You can't run a great business and be a shitty employee. Driven Mofos, welcome back to another episode of The Winning Standard. Today we're talking about standards. It's Monday. Monday is Standards Day and raising the standards. Something that I hear all the time that is promoted across my industry, which is the coaching industry or the consulting space, is this idea of, working on your business and not in your business. And there's so many bullshit lies and all this crap that goes on out there in the business space. But most business owners are trying to get away from working hard. They're wanting to just be in this freestyle where everything just runs well without them. And the truth is you can't run a great business and be a shitty employee. And this is what Joe Rogan said in a podcast. And I was like, wow, this is wild. Because what he was highlighting there is you have to be the best employee in your own company because you set the standard. As a leader, we set the standard within our organization, which means if we say that you need to be on time for meetings, you rock up 5 minutes early because that's the standard. You don't rock up 5 minutes late just because it's your business. So many small business owners that I see that really struggle to grow their business and grow their team have really shitty personal standards. And it's not because they want to have shitty standards. It's just they take on too much. They're trying to grow too quick. They put all this pressure on themselves. They're in pain a lot. They're stressed out. They're frustrated. They're angry. They haven't learned communication skills. They haven't done their self-development or personal development, so they can't become a great leader. They really don't know how to lead people because they don't know how to lead themselves. And they think that if I can grow a business, the business should be able to run without me, but the business can't run without you because the standards haven't been set. You set the standards through the organization's values, vision, mission, and the way you operate. Yesterday, I was doing a talk for a bunch of business owners and we were talking about culture. And culture seems to be one of those wanky things that most people go, my business doesn't need. But culture is the energy of the organization. If you want your team to be motivated, they should be running off of enthusiasm and energy every day. If you rock up to most businesses, their employees rock up, they're all tired, it's another day, another dollar. Oh, it's hump day today, it's Wednesday. Thank God it's Friday. Crap, now it's Monday again, here for another week. Well, that's the culture. That's not how you want your culture to be if you want to build a great organization. And you do that by setting the standard. When you rock up and you're pumped because it's Monday morning and you're excited because it's Wednesday and you're high-fiving the team because they've got small wins every day, not waiting for the big win that this quarter we've achieved this massive goal, you're only going to achieve the massive goal based on the standards that you set every day. If you say we're 5 minutes early to every meeting, then you better be 5 minutes early to every meeting. And the moment that someone is 1 minute late, you don't ream them, you just pull them aside and you say, hey, the standard here, which is the values, accountability is important. We're always early. Okay, and if we're on time, we're late. And I see this happen quite a lot online where people go, well, I don't get paid to be early. Yeah, but you get paid to do a job and the job starts on time. Therefore, if you're 1 minute late, that means you haven't done your job. So you either rock up on time, which is on the second, or you rock up before that second. Now, if you rock up on the second and you're not prepared and you're not ready, it means that you're not doing your job. There's this bullshit ideology that happens in our society because of some fucked up thing that happened probably in the early 1900s, where people started getting paid for their time because it was the only way to understand value. When production lines came in, production lines screwed up everything because someone could just stand there all day, get paid some shitty wage to just screw nuts and bolts on something. And how do you figure out what the value is that they produce? We don't really know. So what do? You just pay them for time. And the production line move value away from what a person does to just being at work. So if you can run a 12-hour shift, and in that shift, there's a production line where everything's on a conveyor belt, and you know that they're going to put 3 screws on every minute, and they just have to do that, you can work out the production value of the whole production line. But when it comes to real business, that's not how it works. So if you're a barber or a hairdresser, that's not how you add value. It's not a production line. So you shouldn't be paid per hour. You should be based on the value that you deliver. And that comes also, if you're the business owner, you've also got to pay tax, you've got to pay superannuation, you've got to pay insurances, you've got all the run costs and everything like that. Plus there's got to be some profitability in there. There's also got to be some savings and shit like that for a rainy day. All of those things have to be taken into account. But for some weird reason, society's moved away from value. And I see it all the time in businesses and especially online. Someone says, well, I don't get paid to rock up early. No, but you get paid to deliver value. Therefore, if you don't deliver the value that you're supposed to deliver in that time, I would fire your ass. And I would fire your ass because you're not value focused. You think that time is money, and time isn't money. Most people waste their fucking time. Have a look at what people do after hours and on weekends. They don't value their time at all. So therefore, why is time money when most people's time isn't valued? That makes no sense. It only makes sense on a production line where time can be calculated on output. Outside of that, it's not the case. If you're building a house, time's not money. Time is how much can you produce in that amount of time. If it takes you a month to build a house, and I'm just using a round example, right? Because if you're a builder out there, you go, well, it takes longer than that. But let's just say if you build one house in 1 month and you charge $100,000, well, if you can get that down and you can become more productive in that same time frame, and you can build 2 houses, now you've got 200, you're essentially creating double the amount. That's what I'm getting at. So you become more productive. Economies grow and businesses grow based on being more productive. People get paid on productivity and the value that they create. They don't get paid on their time. Now, if you say, well, and this is unfortunately some of the things a lot of business owners struggle with. If you say to someone, well, it's going to take a month to build a house, it'll take them a month to build a house, even if it really only takes them 3 weeks, because they'll just cruise along. But if you compress time, if you make them more efficient, you give them better processes, better systems, and this is why systems and processes are important. They don't solve a management issue, which most people think they do. They just make things more streamlined and more productive. And if your systems and processes don't do that, and they take more time, which they do in most government departments due to red tape and bureaucracy, the system and the process becomes less effective because it makes people less productive, which is why if you work on government sites, they might pay you higher, but the productivity is less. Because there's so much red tape, you got to tick all the boxes, cross it off, someone's got to approve shit. It just takes forever to do anything. That's less productive. Over time, that means less value. And this is where our economy is at the moment, right? Productivity is at a 5-year or 10-year low. I can't remember the exact statistics, but it's at a low. Our Australians have become less productive. And then we wonder why the living standard has turned to shit, right? It's going backwards. It's going backwards because people have become less productive, because business owners are getting more and more squeezed, because we've lost the idea of focusing on productivity and on value delivery. People are now getting judged based on money and the time that they work. So business owners go, well, I just want to make more money, and they're money focused, and staff are more money focused. They're not productive focused or productivity focused, and they're not value focused. The whole game changes when you switch around and you go, my job is to add value and to be more productive. Now, this comes back to what we're talking about at the start with Joe Rogan said that you can't run a business being a shitty employee, because you should be the company's best employee. You set the standard. And that's what that means. That's why I hate this idea of, well, you know, I need to work on the business, not in the business. If you have a look, Elon Musk is the most valuable human on the planet. Now, I'm not saying that he's more valuable than anyone else as far as his life goes, but essentially on what he produces and how productive he is, he's the most valuable human being on the planet because his companies are worth the most amount of money. Why? Because they produce large amounts of value and he makes sure that everything is hyper productive. He doesn't worry about red tape and bureaucracy and all the bullshit. He just goes, right, we need to produce stuff. We've got a massive goal, massive vision. We're setting real stretch goals and we're pushing hard to achieve these things because we don't have enough time. And because of that, not only is he a great employee, he's built great businesses. Now, if you're someone who's a lazy motherfucker who's sitting there and going, well, I just want to make all this money, but I don't really want to work. You know, I want to go on holidays and I want to be able to go and chill, you know, the old boats and hoes, right? I want to go on holiday all the time on a yacht and party and live a great lifestyle. And that's why I build a business. That's the dumbest fucking idea because you're the shittest employee then. And what will happen is you'll build a team of people who think like that as well. You won't attract high performers. And the great thing is one of my current staff members, they came to work from a $1 billion company, which was a privately owned company owned by a family. They worked their ass off. Even when they were billionaires, they still outworked most people. Now they were working in different areas, so they spent a lot of time thinking, a lot of time doing legal, a lot of time doing finances, a lot of times in meeting, and they still traveled around the world and did their lifestyle and stuff. But they were buying investment properties, they were looking, they were really productive in the way that they thought and the way that they delivered outcomes. That's why they built a multi-billion-dollar company. You won't do that if you don't have that same drive and that same ambition. If your goal is to escape the business, you didn't really want a business. If your goal is to wake up in the morning and to build something great, then you'll go and do that. If your goal is to not work in your business, then your business won't work very well because you're a shitty employee. And most of your employees will be the same. They won't work hard, they won't be driven, they won't be motivated because they'll learn that off of you, especially if you're the leader. It's just something to think about, driven mofos. Anyway, driven mofos, have a great day. Keep kicking ass, raise your standards, push hard. Don't listen to most people because most people are average. And unless you want to be average, don't take average advice from average people. You want to keep pushing that standards, keep growing, keep developing yourself, figure out what you love, and wake up and do it each and every day. Add more value, become more productive in society. And when you do that, you'll live an absolute epic life. You'll get to enjoy the process and you'll have great people around you because you have this magnetism, because most people don't have that. Most people are just living to survive. They're living to be average, or they're living to escape. They're not living to do something meaningful and purposeful. And that's what this community is about. Driven mofos, have a great day. Keep kicking ass. Go out there and raise the standards. Most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them.